Hello? Okay, we're live. Welcome to Left Right Out again, and we're just throwing something up here to talk about what's going on in the world, because I've been ignoring everything and just living my life to the best that I possibly can. I used to be super uptight about everything, but now that we're in the final stages of pretty much the collapse of the American empire, or the empire of the United States of America, whatever you want to call it, the Republic died. This is like to say, history does not repeat itself, but it rhymes. And you can follow this within the Roman Empire, or from the Roman Republic to the transfer of the Roman Empire until the collapse of it. And it's just like we're in a almost like accelerated version of that, even though we've had a greater army and a larger expanse of land, controllable land and whatnot, and arguably a larger empire or a greater republic or whatnot. But I think we lost that title a long time ago. As a republic, pretty much been ignoring the Constitution for a long time. There's been some things that have been going on. Of course, I think I alluded to it. The last one is like, well, now that the Fed is pretty much the market, they are the guys, they are the bond market, they are the treasury market. I think I heard recently that, well, we knew that a lot of people had some kind of government assistance, like half of the people are United States citizens and then some. But I think there's something came out, there's 25 or a quarter of the nation or something's on the government take, like pretty much that's what they're using for subsistence. And when that happens, like it did in Roman Empire days, when the government's pretty much buying off the public, and the public are ransacking the treasury and the government, or ipso facto the government. We have a central bank that's independent supposedly, but they are in collusion with the government because we have kind of a fascistic government right at the moment. So with them, they are controlling the money supply, diluting it as well, they're inflating it. And they did that in the Roman times. Only they had monetary metals, which they would clip or melt down and insert other lower value. And it took a while for that to see the ramifications throughout the society, but you did. And here we're on a scale unprecedented in the world, but we also have technology, and we do have a lot of productive capacity that's offsetting a lot of this stuff. And so we get away with it. So we got a dog in the background. He's kicking at the cage, trying to get out. I was like trying to see where he's at and try to kick at the cage, but anyway, so it's pretty alarming. And now we got more COVID stuff coming up, which we all know COVID, not really, I won't call it a scam. It's something that's being utilized by governments to exert control, but it is an actual virus. Now, whether the numbers are correct, more testing is, but we know some of the testing is flawed. Basically, the PCR test or the polymerase chain reaction test or whatnot? We know that that's semi-flawed. We can't completely rely on that data. But it is what it is. And you just go along for the ride and do the best you can and get to where you need to be as best you can. And I wish I was better prepared myself, but it is what it is. And I think we probably got at max 20 years before something like this whole thing just falls apart. And just remember that even in the end of the Roman Empire, or let's take the English, life still went on. You just have to figure out, there's still tremendous amounts of wealth created and preserved. There's also a lot of wealth destruction, which we'll see that, and we are seeing that. You got a social unrest, and everybody's just blaming the virus. And for the economic times, we know that's wrong, and everybody's blaming the racism for the riots, which we know that's partial of it, but there's also a lot of economic anger. Now, I mean, we could talk about the racist stuff, or the George Floyd, or the other gal that was shot in her sleep. Just inexcusable when we talk about no-knock warrants, which to me, I take a perspective of this. Like, let's not even look at it as from the victim's perspective. All right, we should. I mean, we tend to, and we should be sympathetic. But if I was a police officer, see, I don't understand how, coming from a Marine's perspective, Marine officer's perspective, a person who served in a law enforcement capacity as well. Now, the planning on these things is not better. Why would you want a no-knock warrant? You're putting your own men at risk. Because even if, let's say you're wrong, an illegal, a citizen that's like myself, you come banging down my door, I'm going to shoot you. Because you didn't identify yourself and you have guns and whatnot. I'm just assuming it's either a robber or a home invader. So I'm surprised not more police officers are killed in line of duty doing these no-knock warrants. 2, there's other planning. If they're worried about people flushing drugs or concealing things, there's other ways to plan about it. There's other ways to serve the warrant where you get the person in a more vulnerable state so that you, one, don't put them at risk and don't put you at risk. And sometimes that's catching them outside the home. Why wouldn't you do that instead of cornering the dog in the corner? I mean, I just don't understand some of the planning aspects and the risks that they're actually putting their own officers in. So I'm against no-knock warrants. I think presenting it, because once you're already there anyway, I mean, you can still get them with overwhelming force. You're not really doing anything that's giving the criminal this overwhelming advantage if you knock and announce. But you are staving off tragedies, 1, to your officers, and 2, to if you make a mistake. And I don't even know how you make a mistake. There should be somebody that's really crossing the T's and dotting the I's on the right building, the right person. I mean, this should be in the planning process. I just don't understand how it's not. I couldn't see this as a Marine going into an operation and not having the plan, your order correct, so that your guys you can't put them in the position where they make those mistakes. If they make those mistakes, it's on the human element and not the planning side. The planning side has to be airtight, one for you and one for your guys, and one for the guys you're going after too. I mean, I just don't understand it. I think there needs to be from the law enforcement perspective, having been in there as well. The training is just not insufficient, and there is a us versus them mentality. It does exist, and there is 10 to 20% shitbags. And that just happens in all organizations. And if you're not willing to take those guys out, then all it does is those guys breed. They're like weeds. They'll come up and they'll start taking over leadership positions if you don't watch out. And then you're really screwed. So you have to be able to not have this good old boys network. If somebody does something wrong, there is a higher standard. That's why I don't jump on the side of the police officer. I don't give them the benefit of the doubt, because that's not what happens in the Marine Corps. Maybe the public does that, but other Marines, we hold each other accountable. Or in the military in general, you hold yourself accountable because you're set to a higher standard. You are expected to be of exemplary character. If you're in question at all, you are presumed guilty, and then you pretty much prove yourself innocent. It's quite the conundrum, but at the same time, we're brothers beyond anything that anybody really knows, and that's the way the police department should have some remnants of that or semblance of that when it comes to this structure, because they should be holding each other accountable because they are supposed to be above and apart, or at least in their mind, that's men and women of exemplary character that are there for the betterment of society and to serve and protect and to promote justice and well-being, defend property, and contracts or whatnot. So, I mean, you have to be held accountable. So, yeah, they should be under more scrutiny. And yes, they should hold themselves to a higher standard. They shouldn't expect, it shouldn't be always jumped on their side, and the public should hold them. It's not the fact that you're not pro-cop. In fact, because I'm more critical of them, I'm more pro-cop than the guy that lets them off. It's because I have a greater respect for that position. A much greater respect, because it's not the person in there, it's the billet. That's what I respect. And the person that you put in that billet has to be the right person. So we need to do something about that for sure. Anyway, I went way too far on that because that's just something that I talk about never really gets addressed in that aspect of a leadership role as, like I said, the character element and the billet element. We're putting too many things together there, and you're either one group or the other, which is it's not that clear cut. That's the thing. If you play by the teams, you're bound to cross your own character. But if you play by the principles and you stick to your principles, usually you'll be driven in the right direction. And that's the way I like to look at it. So if these cops do something wrong, hey, hold them accountable. If it's so bad that it can't be remedied or can't be corrected, we can't have a little sit down, yeah, let's fire them. Should it be blown up over the media? No, but at this point, maybe it needs to be, because the departments themselves aren't holding themselves accountable. So yeah, then you get escalated to the next level. Anyway, I'm going to end it there. We know that we're in an economic firestorm beyond anything that's ever been seen in mankind. We know the Fed is the market now. We know they're the bond market. We know they're propping up the stock market. We know that their balance sheet's over $7 trillion, and who God knows what's going to go. We know we're going to probably get a second stimulus package and probably indefinite unemployment, which is pretty much UBI for people. Which, can you blame them? The people, I mean, if you get the money, get the money, but do something productive with it. I said do something productive with yourselves. Create stuff, create businesses, invest in assets, use this money while you can. What you can do is help your fellow man, help your communities, help your states, because the republic is pretty much on its way out the door, and hopefully we'll have some semblance of society, which there will be if you study these other empires. The fall, it's not like it's all complete anarchy. It's not like it's complete devastation. There is going to be hurt, torment. But just imagine if we would have taken this pain earlier, if we'd have gone back to solid money, if we'd have dissolved the central banking system, gone to a free market system, and not allow the government and the corporations in general, the fascistic commingling of these groups to manipulate the market and allow a central bank to dictate monetary policy, to fix money prices, which is a chief tenet of socialism, to backstop every company that fails, or these too big to fail companies, and now every company. Imagine if we'd have just taken the pain earlier. Yeah, it would have sucked for maybe 6 months, maybe a year, but man, where would we be? Where would we be for posterity? Where are we now, and what's going to happen? It's unconscionable. The prior generations, we're blamed, the millennials. I'm 35 or whatever, but my generation is blamed, and the ones coming up are blamed for this, but it's not our fault. It was the generations prior, and it's us too, but a lot of us are waking up. But they didn't want to make the hard choices, and now we got to live through the consequences. It's what it is, man.